now in my speaking career, two of the things that I rely on a lot would be the anticipation of differing viewpoints. So when I go into an audience, a workplace, I know that they might be thinking that culture is fluffy. There's some of those people like, oh gosh, they're going to make me have balloons in my office, or, all those things, that the wrong things that people conjure up that culture might be. So I talk about return on culture, and I give them examples of what it means to have a strong culture, how culture can really drive your organization. So I encourage people, if you're trying to influence someone, think about their differing viewpoints before you try to influence them. And the other thing I really rely on is preparation and understanding the audience as much as possible before going into that. Now, I'm not always perfect on that. Sometimes that's really hard, especially if you're at a large convention, for example, and it's a food manufacturing convention that I might be speaking to. There's so many differing people at differing levels, so it's harder to understand your audience. But I always remember a story that my dad would tell about, he served in World War II, and he was at a base in Yuma, Arizona, and a very famous comedian came and addressed the audience, and he really did understand his audience. And they started out with saying, well, it's great to be in Yuma, Arizona, an oven with a landing strip. So my dad would tell that story over and over again. And I always remembered that as a great example of understanding and relating back to your audience. And I always think it's great if you can, especially in a public speaking environment, to start off with some humor, because that really does help you relate to the audience and relaxes them, and hopefully they know they're in for an informative time.
Oh, I love that. What a great story. You hit on two powerful things there. This idea of anticipating the audience's viewpoints or their positions on things, kind of preparing for what might I be walking into, what might be some of the barriers that are going to be up, or maybe misconceptions about what I'm going to share with them, whether it's around culture or you're going into a sales meeting, whatever it may be. Just kind of understanding what are some of the things that you might run into, and then really that preparation, knowing who am I going to be meeting with, what might be some of their things that they're looking to get out of this, just doing as much digging as you can and trying to tailor your message as best can, right? If you're speaking to thousands of people, it's a little bit more difficult, but you'll probably still get a baseline understanding of what's the average audience member like, what are they representing, their industry, pain points in the industry. If you do those two things, you're going to be head and shoulders above most folks when it comes to delivering a speech. And I think the third thing that really does help folks is realizing more often than not, people are there because they want to be there, and they are really honestly cheering for you. Very rarely are you going into a presentation or a speech where people are rooting for you or rooting against you or wanting you to fail. I think that can help bring those nerves down. So if you try to anticipate what you might run into, really prepare. You mentioned earlier, kind of you're in your swim lane, you're in your area of expertise, and just knowing that most people want you to succeed put you way up here when it comes to delivering a speech or a presentation.